Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected. And if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now we are joined by Righteous Force, Neil, Refracted Curvature, 10th Man, Arwin, Sleeping Warrior, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Yo, yo.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon. Yep.
Hey, good morning.
Yep. Good morning.
Good morning.
Let's get it on.
Yeah, it's a quick shout out to Flatsoid Perspective, which is a YouTube channel, which is doing very well at the moment, and everybody seems to love it. He's getting his own boycott, he's that good. So, shout out to you, Flatsoid. He covered Simon Dan yesterday, and Simon Dan was covering me. So, Flatsoid seems to have a reputation for covering things that are being covered by other people, and in this case, it was Simon Dan covering me, and then Flatsoid covering Simon Dan covering me. So, given how convoluted it got last time with us covering Flatsoid, covering Simon Dan, covering Professor Dave, I don't think we'll do a reaction video. But if you do want to hear the reaction video, Flatsoid's more than competent in speaking in that regard. Go on, whoever that was.
Maybe I'm going to review that video. No,
yeah, feel free.
not.
I mean, if you want to do your own little Simon Dan video on Simon Dan looking at gas pressure without a container and asserting that there's a gas pressure gradient, yeah, fine. You know, respond to it all you like. You know,
I'd
okay.
just be laughing all the time.
Oh, gravity was his response. Okay, fine. Yeah, no worries. So same exact rerun. If you want to see this play out already, right, go and check out the tete-a-tete between myself and PhD clown Thunderfoot, where the exact same thing happens. I explained to him that you can't have gas pressure without a container. It's a violation of entropy law. He comes back with gravity. So gas go down, go boom, boom, like solid bonded bouncy balls to force the other gases up. Now, gases are all created at ground level. And in order to have a gas pressure gradient, you've got to have gas pressure. So what's it pressing on? The bloody sky vacuum, Simon Dan. Yeah, that's as much response as it needs. If you want to see it play out in length, then go and check out any of the videos of me versus PhD Clown Thunderfoot, with him pouring bouncy balls, solid bonded bouncy balls, into a fish tank to assert that gas go down, go boom, boom, to force the clouds up. No, definitely not. Gas expands in all directions. It expands in all directions to fill whatever containment it has. It fills the volume to then develop gas pressure gradients. First, you need containment. So there we go. That's my response to Dan. It didn't take long, and Flatsoid did just as good, if not better, a job. Less concise, perhaps, because he took a good solid hour, maybe a couple of hours over it. But yeah, check out Flatsoid's channel. Go and subscribe today. He did a really good job of a response video. It doesn't need a 4th generation one on top of that, or me doing the same job as Flatsoid's already done. So, we'll do a bit of housekeeping. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge? That's a horizon formerly known as the curve of the Earth.
Nope.
Well, definitely not today. It's way too clear and dry in the air and cold. And then you can see too far, so that geometric horizon is going to be much, much further away.
Just ask the question again, Nathan, slower.
Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge, and then I qualify it with that's a horizon formerly known as Earth curve.
Yeah, I was disappointed to see yesterday that somehow we couldn't see where the horizon was at all on the Skunk Bay footage. Skunk Bay footage shows the point where the sky and the ground appear to meet, but for some reason we weren't able to establish where it was, according to some people. Which
really,
I had to leave because I found that obtuse.
Hold on.
Hold on.
Before you go, John.
Hold
Okay.
on. What is the full definition of horizon? Because you didn't give the full definition just then. You didn't mention horizontal in that.
By definition, the horizon is the apparent position where the sky appears to meet the ground.
You used appears twice in that. You used apparent and then appears. You're not using the definition correctly.
So you want
Is it apparent position, or does it just where the sky appears to meet the ground? Because I could be in the bottom of a canyon and look up and see the edge of the cliff appear to meet the ground. Would you define that as the horizon?
It can't. You're conflating two separate terms as one. You're conflating the geographical horizon, which deals with, or the topographical horizon, which deals with terrain. And I'm not referring to that. I'm referring to the horizon, the ground. So the topographical or the geographical horizon doesn't refer to the ground. That relates to the relief. But we're not talking about that. So there's a difference between the geographical or the topographical horizon and the horizon. The horizon is where the ground is.
And in the picture you were pointing at, there was only a geographical horizon. There was no apparent horizon, whatever you want to call it.
So what you're now doing is putting your hands over your eyes and going, I can't see the horizon, but it is clear that there is a horizon in the image. But if you say there's not one, okay.
Okay, good.
Can I
I was about to challenge it on the basis that there's always a horizon, right? If you've got fog, this is what someone specifically asked me yesterday in Flatsoy's chat, right? So they said, right, what if there's fog? How do I identify the horizon if there's fog? Now, number one, I don't know, you'd be sighting a star in fog, but it's not the question I was asked. So I was like, no, there will still be a horizon. Just relatively speaking, it'll appear closer. But you can still establish a horizontal with it. You know, that's just the horizon in fog.
But that's not what we were looking at.
No,
we were looking at land and distance.
I know that's not what you were discussing, but I just want to clarify. Am I right in that position? I can't think of circumstances where you won't have a horizon, even if it's pitch, if it's really... What's going on? Who's making that noise? Mr. Palmer, did you want to add something? You can always see a horizon. Am I wrong in that?
You can
I'll just give an example where you can't, where you're in the bottom of a ravine and the cliffs are above you.
Yeah.
Is that a horizon?
Can I point out something?
No, that's not what I mean. I mean, you're out at sea and there's fog, where there would be normally a horizon, but for the... I'm not saying but for the building that's been built in your way, or the ravine that you're in, or the valley. No. I mean, where if you could, through the valley, see a horizon, then that might fit this example. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just saying, if the weather closes in, you see this in the imagery. The horizon moves, right? Well, in terms of what you can still utilize it for, what you can establish with it, it doesn't change in that regard. You can still establish the horizon in your sextant. That's what it's using to establish horizontal. However,
right. So if there's mountains in the distance, you think where the sky meets the mountains is the horizon, or what?
Yeah,
Nathan,
into the distance. If you're looking at a mountain range, then you're going to have a higher elevation than the ground level that you're trying to establish with reference. So no, because you're not referencing it in regards to the deck. You're not referencing the topology. You're referencing the baseline. So no, if you're looking out and you can see land on the horizon, that's going to be higher than potentially the ground you're on, unless you know the exact height in reference. But why would you then be doing anything with the sextant if you knew that?
Well, Sleeping Warrior, there was mountains in the background of that. Why are you asserting a horizon?
Because you're conflating the term the topographical horizon with the horizon, as I've already said, and you seem to have forgotten already. There is a difference between the
There's mountains everywhere in that picture, and you're asserting a horizon. Just let it go, dude.
Yeah, so it's a topographical horizon in regards to if you have a fence line in front of you, and it is the boundary point between the ground and the fence in this case, and the sky above, then that's your topographical horizon. But that's not what you could use to establish horizontal with. In the same way, if there's mountains in the background, they're going to be potentially higher than the deck. You're referencing it for use with sea level. Right? In other words, what you're trying to establish is the baseline for the measurement that can be established to draw out a circle of equal elevation. That's not going to be in reference to some random point on a mountain in the distance.
Yeah, the bit that you're missing, John, is the word ground is part of the definition for horizon, not relief, not topography.
The mountains aren't the ground.
Yeah, they are.
Correct. Mountains are not the ground.
No, they are.
Mountains are mountains.
No, mountains are the ground.
No, they're not. They're above the ground.
You're done, dude. You're done. Just let it go.
No, I'm not done at all. You're just denying that there's a difference between
I've
the
missed the
topographical
argument here.
horizon
Sorry,
and the horizon.
I can't
And if
control
you
this.
wanna conflate
Stop,
the
stop, stop.
two-
I'm just going to confess ignorance and go, John, I'll ask you. Hopefully we'll keep Anthony under control for the majority of this live show. Maybe I've missed the point that you're contentious about here. Can you explain?
Anthony's asserting that the horizon changes angles depending on the weather, and that's not the case. It changes distance, but not angles, because you use the angle. Hold on. You use your angle to the horizon and your height above the deck to establish your dip angle correction.
Deny. The evidence proves that's wrong.
Yeah, he's saying celestial navigation's wrong, so I don't know what to do with him. You go ahead.
No, I'm not. Let's not forget the context, John. The context was, how do we determine horizontal for the purposes of measuring an angle? And I said you get your reference from vertical. You get your 90 degrees vertical up, your what's it called, your zenith. You get your vertical, and from there you then get 90 degrees perpendicular to set your horizontal. And I said you can't use the horizon because, as we see in Skunk Bay, it varies, it moves up and down, and you can't tell where.
You say that. Celestial navigation proves you're wrong. Why do you keep saying it?
Because the horizon varies its apparent location based on the conditions at the time. As Nathan
location, not angle. Not angle. You're saying
angle,
location.
yes, John.
That's a
yes,
distant.
John. Angle.
No,
yes, John. Angle. Listen to me. Angle. On a bad visibility day, you can't see as far as you can on a good day, and your angle to the horizon is lower. That horizon angle then is not horizontal, John, because visibility on the day doesn't permit it to be.
Hold on.
Talking about the deep angle, not the same
So people who navigate don't find their way home. Good job, Anthony.
No, people who navigate use a system to get themselves home, but they are not basing it on a horizontal. They are basing it on the horizon angle.
You're done. You might as well just back up.
No, I'm not done, John. You're just being dishonest. You cannot deny that the visibility to the horizon.
What is that mirror on the sextant? What is that mirror on the sextant called the horizon mirror for, Anthony? Why is it called the horizon mirror?
John, listen to what I'm saying, because this is important. It directly refutes your claim that you can set your horizontal to the horizon.
Everybody stop.
Don't put this on me.
Stop. Hello, please stop.
If you push
please,
it,
Anthony, I've got to be able to control my show. That means when I ask to stop, please, can you? No, Anthony, number one, he's asked you about a tool used in celestial navigation, which is performed daily. And he said, what's the horizon mirror for then? You haven't answered him.
Right. If you set your horizon mirror to the horizon, depending on how good your visibility is on the day, your angle to the horizon will either be close to horizontal or nowhere near it, John. So you can set your mirror to the horizon, no problem.
Hey, there's a subject matter expert that's telling you you're wrong in the background. I don't know if you're paying attention.
I called the
You're wrong.
I haven't finished.
You've been talking for 10 minutes. You've been talking for 10 minutes. I called a professional.
No problem. No problem, gents. Have a good day. It's become an echo chamber. So you guys talk about whatever you want, but you can't set your horizon to.
You don't have to leave. You can just listen for a minute.
No, there's no point.
You don't have to leave. There is no point
talking.
I'm about to explain.
Anthony's trying
to explain. I want an explanation. I want to address.
Come back when you're ready.
Okay, Anthony's not willing to listen, but we do have an audience, Anthony.
The fucking mirror to the horizon.
Anthony, getting chaos. I've got an audience that wants to listen. Anthony, if you don't want to listen, okay, go away. I've got an audience that wants to listen.
Okay, have a great day.
No worries. Go ahead, Ted. You can explain to the audience as Anthony wasn't willing to listen.
Yes, I called the professional navigator and I talked to him in person. And I asked him this very question. When it's really foggy, where it's hugging the ocean surface, but you could still spot one of the 64 navigational stars, so you have a view of the star, can you still use the sextant when it's really foggy? He says, yeah, just aim it where the fog is meeting the ocean surface, and that's your horizon. Now, what Anthony's not getting is what John has already explained, and I've shown,
and John and I are on the same page of this refractive curvature, is that you have a depression angle if you're 10 feet above the ocean surface, and it's a height of eye correction to get your eyeballs on the ocean surface. So if your eyeballs are really on the ocean surface, you have your horizontal and you have your angle. Anthony's saying you can't get an angle. John is correct that it's just a distance issue. It's not an angle issue. The angle still remains the same.
Which, by the way, destroys the claim of refraction too. Just to throw that in for the ballers.
Okay. Well,
Absolutely. I said in the past, it just plows through refraction all the way to the GP of the star or sun or moon, one of the 64 navigational stars, which those are one of them. Wherever that zenith, that 90 that Anthony wants you to have, which you have, your own zenith, your 90, okay, that's the principle of the bubble sextant. It's using your zenith because you got an artificial horizon, which is the spread level. And that's at eye level. And you don't need dip correction. I mean, this is so clear if you pay attention.
Sure. So what's trying to be communicated is the fact that even if you perform it in the way that Anthony's describing and saying, well, you don't need to establish a horizontal in order to get the angle to the star. Okay, we'll take that as read. Fine. So you drop a plumb line, you take an angle from the plumb line and you get the star. For what? So that you can drop a line down from the star to the ground. And the line that runs out from your position to that position, the GP of the star, is along the flat baseline. That's what it is when you draw a circle around that point. So you can hopefully figure out that you're somewhere along that line that you draw. Now, you're not going to know exactly till you do a couple more, but that's the principle behind it. You're going to draw a straight line from your position to the GP of the star that you've measured the angle for. Does it matter that you've dropped a plumb line to get the angle to the star? No, because at the base of the star, there's a 90-degree angle between you and it, meaning there's a flat baseline between you and it. Now, if you use the horizon to establish that baseline, or you use your vertical and then subtract it from 90 the other way round, it makes no difference. You've still got a flat baseline between you and the GP of the star. And you have in all directions, if you're doing it in 3 directions to get 3 stars, you may only need 2. But in either event, you're going to be drawing out a flat baseline between you and the GP of the star. As evidenced by the description of the circle that you draw on the map. It's a circle of equal elevation. That means it's flat, 2-dimensional, in terms of the reference to the baseline. Sea level, 0. Not curving away 8 inches per mile squared, flat in all directions from your position to the position below the star at ground level. It's how you're navigating. It's what you'll be navigating. Positionally, it's how you find where you are, so then you can point your ship in the right direction and find your way home. Very literally saving your life if you're lost. But that requires a flat baseline.
Sorry.
My last point, just before I'm nearly done, what I was going to say to Anthony, although hopefully he'll just come back and he's cooled down a little bit, is that his argument isn't with John. It is with celestial navigation if he denies this principle, not with John. He's like, you're a liar. No, your argument is with celestial navigation, Anthony. Which is what I was trying to step in to say, but now I've had the opportunity to say a lot more. I'm going to take it. Hopefully he'll come back.
Yeah, I didn't want to, I don't like to be called dishonest when I'm just citing what people have been doing since, well, forever, you know?
John, let me jump in here. Nathan, go to the Master D. I post a slide that we've seen many times before. It's one of many. I'm putting together a review. It's funny, I was putting this together yesterday and the subject came up today.
Yeah, it's up.
Okay. So, in simplified terms, hold on. When we take a sextant altitude of the sun, we're creating a right angle triangle between it and the Earth's surface at the GP and ourselves. Let me read that again. In simplified terms, when we take a sextant altitude, that's an elevation angle, of the sun, we're creating a right angle triangle between it, the Earth's surface at the GP, and ourselves. Now, ourselves, we have a 92. We have a zenith that's directly above us, right? Grade school geometry tells us that the two angles in the right angle triangle must equal 90 degrees. So the complement to the altitude projects an angle from the sun onto the surface of the earth, which, just like in the latitude example above, can be converted to nautical miles. My goodness.
Exactly.
This is celestial navigation, not me, not John, not Nathan.
It doesn't matter. In simplified terms, when we take a sextant altitude of the sun, okay, it doesn't matter if you take that angle and minus it off your what you're going to take from your zenith. So you're going to drop a plumb line to take it. Makes no difference, because you're creating a right angle triangle between you and it. And it is the point below the star. So there's a flat line between this guy on the boat and the star, which he's taking an angle to. So if the star's up here, yeah, he knows that below it, there's a 90 degree. That means between him and it, there's 90 degrees. Now, if Anthony says, all right, well, you can get the angle to the star from the plumb line. Yeah, so you can demonstrate that below it, there's a flat baseline between you and it. Because what you're going to be doing on the map, you're going to be drawing a massive flat circle to represent the point below the star. You're going to stick your compass in, and then on the map, draw a big circle. And somewhere on that circle on the map, you are sitting at some point on that circle on the map. Now, you might be anywhere on the bloody circle. You don't know. That's why you do more than one, to find the points that they cross over, so you can establish more clearly where you are on the circle. But all you're trying to do is draw out a circle at the point below the star that you've measured the angle to, and then gone to the books and gone, where is that star at this time? Where is it below on the map? Because that's the information you're trying to establish, so that you can draw a circle around and say, I'm on this circle.
Well, see, the thing is, in the imagery that Anthony was talking about, there was a place in front of some mountains where the water, it seemed to make a line, but the water would rise up and lower depending on the humidity. And I think it's called bulging of water or whatever. But he was asserting that was changing angles, and that's the horizon. Therefore, the horizon's changing its angle to the observer.
Reasonable.
And
But
right.
But the height of eye correction is where you are, and the surface of the sea where you are. And it's considered to be a horizontal for the right angle to work. Thereby, the sextant cannot work on the curved baseline. So it doesn't matter if, like in the big waves, like when it's big waves, they said, what do you do when there's big waves and you have to take a measurement because the clouds are about to cover one of your stars and it says it's going to be cloudy the next week and you need this measurement? What do?
Okay, so hold on, just 1 second. So therefore, Anthony's correct. If the water level's rising, then absolutely ipso facto you are altering your angle to that horizon. He's correct. But you're saying...
That's not the horizon, though. If you can't pull a horizontal from it, that's not the horizon.
No. What Tenth is saying is, when you do the dip angle correction, what you do is you measure your height above the deck. Correct?
The deck meaning the ocean surface.
Yeah.
You measure your angle. So
you're
measuring angles.
I'm nearly there.
You're measuring angles and then deducting for height with an angle.
Yeah, but you're adjusting to the deck. Now, if the height of the deck is altering, i.e. the tide's coming in, then ipso facto it will alter the angle. But you're going to correct for that because you're going to have a different height in the dip correction because the height you have changed. Now that ipso facto must change the angle.
No. The height that you correct, you already established when you were on shore at the dock when the water was still. You take your 3 or 4 positions from your sailboat that you always take your sextant angles from. You get a tape measure and you say, if I do it from here, it's 9.5 feet. If I do it from here, it's 10 feet. If I do it from here, it's 12 feet. You already know what you're going to minus. because you can't do it. You can't pull a tape measure when the sea is going crazy on you. And when it's really
hold on,
way-
stop, hold on.
Hold on.
That's what Anthony was positioning. He gave his example, I listened, as Skunk Bay, which is a time lapse over a period of time. Now, given that the physical height is changing over that period, that means that you would...
It's not the horizon, though. It's not the horizon. There was a mountain
that is
behind
moving
it.
as well.
It wasn't the horizon. That's my point. It wasn't the horizon. There was mountains beyond it. It's not where the sky's meeting the ground. What are you talking about?
This is
It's where the ground's meeting the water. That's not the horizon.
And to substantiate that claim, sea level has to rise for that to have any sense.
That's what I thought was being...
Sea level doesn't rise; it stays at sea level.
That's what I thought was being asserted by Anthony, i.e. the tides coming in and raising the level of the water, and then 10th qualified it as being bulging. You're like, okay, so if that's the case...
let me finish.
Then...
I never got to finish.
But, right. So, no, just address that point. No, because that's absolutely fine. That is a local obstruction. We are not using the sea per se. We're using the point of optical dissolution, the point where we can no longer distinguish between the sea and the sky. Therefore, irrespective of where it is, that's what we're looking for. That's what's defining the horizon, nothing in reality.
Okay, but that doesn't meet the semantic... that doesn't meet the semantics that Anthony was putting forward, because you're saying...
No,
point of optical...
I got to finish.
Hold on, I'm in the middle of a sentence.
I know, but you got half my statement.
Thank you. I'll just rather finish my
sentence.
sentence. So, Adam, his argument isn't regards to what you've defined the horizon as in terms of an optical dissolution point. Whereas we're all clarifying, and I know where you're all going. You're all saying, nah, you can't use the mountains because that isn't where the apparent position that the land and sky meet. Because it isn't. The sea or sky or land or sky meeting at a point of optical dissolution, which is what you'd use if you were pointing your sextant at it. If there's something in the near foreground, that's going to be the point, right? Therefore, it's like a fence in the way if it's mountains or anything else. Now, I get your point. But Anthony's then brought up the definition of horizon, and it doesn't define it that way, does it?
But that's the problem, is because there's mountains behind the point that he says is the horizon. So tell me, how do you define the horizon? Is it the point where the mountain meets the water?
That's not what he put up on screen, though, is it? From a semantical point of view,
Yeah, he
Anthony's
did.
right.
No, he's not. Go look at that picture again. There's mountains all over the background of that. That's wrong.
Yeah, but that would be
That
the
would
land.
mean he had multiple horizons.
But that would be the land.
Yeah.
In I'm just playing devil's advocate for Nancy. He hasn't come back. Right, so he's saying that's the land. It's in the definition as the point where the land or sea meets the sky, right?
Right. So how many horizons can you have in one image?
One.
How many are in Skunk Bay? I've got 4.
Can't even remember what it looks like. I'm fighting from a position that I don't know because I haven't got the argument in front of me.
Yeah, so we can't, it has to be, and it is a semantic argument because we got it to this, it's the apparent position. Now, the top of a tree, the top of a mountain is not apparent, it's real, it's a defining thing that defines a boundary line in physical reality. It's not an apparent position that is defined by an inability to resolve.
So therefore,
May I finish?
hold on a second. By logical inference, then, when we argued about the Isle of Man, the only horizon that was in existence was in what we falsely identified as Ireland. There was no other horizon in that image then.
No, because you were seeing all the way to Ireland.
Hold on a minute. Not because we... No, we weren't seeing all the way to Ireland. We were seeing the other end of the south end of the Isle of Man. But that's not the point. My point is that that was the point of optical dissolution in that image, not the band of refraction, mirroring, upside down, bottom of the beach, whatever you want to describe that line as, at the base of the Isle of Man. That is not what you would define as a horizon by this definition and standard. Am I correct?
Yes, because that's what I think of Travis.
Absolutely.
He's never called that a horizon. It's his ether bandiness. It's that point of dissolution. But it's not classified as a horizon because there's something behind it.
No wonder Rumpus wouldn't answer me. It's been 4 years of me pondering this. Why wouldn't Rumpus answer me when I waved my mouse over that line in front of the Isle of Man, right about the point of the, the McGall, whatever it was, the lighthouse, right in the middle bit, with that line, and I asked him outright, what is this? And I drew my mouse over the line that we're now saying, that's not the horizon. well, the horizon's Earth curve, isn't it? But in this image, that could never have been qualified as being, let's change the phraseology, Earth curve. And when I said, what is this bit here, what I was actually asking, and I wasn't concise enough in my questioning, I was too vague, I was asking, what's the mirror banding? Because that's what kind of the topic was about. But because I didn't phrase it, he just couldn't answer. I've never ever, except in that one instance, stunned Rumpus to silence. That's the only instance. He couldn't deliver a single word to answer my question in that regard. And I was like, why did that stun him to silence? Like, in any other instance, you just say, oh, it's the mirror band, because that was what was on my mind. But now I know why. It's because you could never qualify it as being the horizon, could you? It doesn't meet the definition. And that's what they're saying the Earth curve obstruction is. So how are you going to claim it's the limitation at the point, the hill, when there isn't that to qualify in the image itself, except at that one point in the far right of the far left of the image? Fascinating.
Well, I know why Rumpus, if I may, I know why Rumpus would not answer that probably. It's because he knew that we would still have to like figure out the lies. So he just didn't want to already give us the answers of future dilemmas, right? Because it's like a branch and it's all illusion. A branch of choices and every pick is an illusion. He didn't want to give the game away. So he's not going to answer because you hadn't caught on to the game yet. Right. Now he would probably answer now that we have the Black Swan argument and all that.
Maybe. Okay.
That's how he works.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Chocolate. So we've got navigation by, I can't read the name, it's too small.
Do you know how many times I changed positions in that argument? Because I understand what Anthony's saying, and it's heartbreaking because he's not getting what I'm trying to tell him, and I don't want him to think that I'm dishonest, but he's wrong when he makes, some the claims that he made.
Saying you're dishonest was just outrageous because his arguments with celestial navigation at that point. So to claim you're dishonest is just an outrage. But there we go. That's a different point. Did you want to add something, AI?
He was going to move it to J-Trick, wasn't he?
I do.
So this whole problem stems from the beginning. Anyway, this whole problem stems from the beginning, with just like that article where it says the argument begins and ends with the horizon, because the horizon is assumed to be a physical location. All of this is just confusion between physical locations and optical locations in your field of view. For example, Anthony's correct that you can never shoot a straight line from any observation point to the horizon and that line be horizontal. That's a fact. The only way that could be done is if you were directly in the line of the horizon to which physical matter would be obstructing you. The only time you could see a horizon, right, being a horizontal line, is left to right in your field of view, which, by the way, if it's a circle, it would look like a flat line, which goes back to the question which you ask Globers all the time: how high do you have to be before that flat line turns into a curved line geometrically? None of them can answer that. It's all optical phenomenon. There's no real geometry in any of this.
You know the answer to that? It's always... the answer in terms of the physical geometry, I had a look at this ages ago. We actually, again, covered it in the Isle of Man discussion, and it's hidden in Mick West's calculator as I think it's called the advanced curve calculation. I think that's what they call it. But essentially, there is a certain amount of curvature that you would observe in your field of view. And that would become more pronounced as you raised in altitude. Now, this was one of the very first principles that I got to get around, my head around in flat earthism when I first got here, thanks to Rory Cooper. My Perspective is a South African guy who does animations, and he just showed it. It's like, here you go, here's a rendering of a sphere Earth at the radius of 3959 miles. Here's you stood on it. This is what it looked like as you raised in altitude. You go, wow, it just gets more and more curvy. And here's what it would look like if the horizon was falling away at 8 inches per mile squared. And you go, yeah, shit, there's loads of stuff blocked by it. At all times. Why? Well, because it's a bloody hill getting in the way at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. Here it is rendered. It's obvious if you're on a ball. Not to say the least, that it's really, really, really obvious because it's such a small ball. People don't appreciate how small the heliocentric ball really is. And it would be observably obvious that you had a curved surface presented to you. And it wouldn't be, oh no, it
That
looks
would
just
be a
looks very
violation
flat
of the
today.
model.
Oh, you wouldn't really notice. You would. That's why they've got maths for how much you would notice it and how much it's blocking boats and buildings. Because that's how noticeable it would be. They're claiming it's bloody noticeable. Here's the maths for how noticeable it is when they simultaneously tell you it's negligible. Oh, right, if you only got a few hundred meters. No. It would always be in effect at all times. Yeah, if you got lower to the ground, it would become more pronounced if it was really the case. It would be curving in your peripheral vision to a certain extent that's measurable according to the maths, and it would become more pronounced as you raised in altitude. Simple. Exactly as they claim. It's not like that's a stretch, that's their claim.
Yeah. It said that.
Who was that? Somebody else said they wanted to go. Whoever that was, go ahead.
No, I was asking if Ted was there.
Yeah, and I'm very frustrated.
I know that's why
I couldn't finish. I'm in the middle of a sentence and I get cut off. And then when I try to get back in, I'm told I'm not allowed to finish, meaning Nathan saying that to me when I wasn't allowed to finish. This is a very frustrating show, especially after spending years studying the subject. And I got the answer for Anthony directly.
I entirely blame Anthony. I mean, this is all his fault. Let's be honest. Go ahead, 10th. You've got your navigation presentation up as well, whenever you're ready.
Well, it's in pieces at this point. Look, let's get something straight. A bubble sextant uses a spirit level and has a fictitious horizontal, which is the spirit level itself. It's in midair. It's at the eye level of the observer. You'd use this when you're landlocked. You don't use a mountain. You don't use anything. You use this. Or you get the other artificial horizon method, because they're both artificial horizons, the spirit level as well as the Pan and Mercury. You do what Lewis and Clark did. No dip correction or height to eye, which is what this really is, required. Okay? But when you're at sea and you're using the Mariner sextant, you don't have the luxury of a steady ship to hang a plumb bob, so that you use your 90 degree, like the bubble sextant does, to establish the horizontal. You don't have that luxury. It doesn't work. It would have to be so still for it to work, but there's rarely those occasions. So that's why at sea, they have the Mariner sextant that has two mirrors. One's the index mirror for the star, and the other is the horizon mirror. And you aim it at the horizon. And since the sea is not steady, they have devised methods of doing this. So the fact that it could be a really wavy day and you have only a few minutes to do it before the clouds cover that star that you're trying to sight, you don't do it at the bottom of the trough of a wave. You do it at the top, the peak. That's how they say to do it, okay? And then if you even want to do it a little bit to where you can be a little more exacting because the conditions aren't going to give you a more precise reading as if it was a still day or, calmer day, then you have the amount of the wave. So if the waves are 10 feet high, then you just say 5 feet. And you do this in your calculation. So basically, on a perfect condition where you can sight the horizon and there's very low movement, you're going to be half a mile to a mile out of what you're looking for. On these days when it's wavy, it might be a little bit more, but at least you got it before that cloud covered that star. So it's very simple what they use the horizon for and how they do it. And they're always at the top of the wave, and then they have the amount of the size of the wave. But I digress. What I'm trying to point out to you is that when Anthony said you can use your own zenith, he's right. But that's difficult at sea because you can't keep that plumb bob steady. So you use the horizon instead. And there's methods to that. Now, the same reading is from both. So if you use your own zenith, okay, it's better I show this. So Navigation by Harold Jacoby, a great book. It's one of the ones that they save for literature because this guy, he was big up in his university when he wrote this book. All right. And then you got the cover, Harold Jacoby Navigation. Now go to the second to the last slide because that's where the next part is. Chapter 6, the sextant. Tell me when you have it.
Well, Nathan, just pulling that up. Could I just ask you a question on that last bit? Then, in terms of
Is that Anthony, by the way?
halving
Is the rumpus victim Anthony?
Yeah, I've come back in to correct some lies. I've been
Okay, we'll get to you. We'll get to you.
I've been misrepresented, and I want to be able to respond accurately, and I want the respect from my peers to let me fucking talk.
Hey, okay, you will. Go ahead. Not you. 10th.
We have twice made reference to this instrument. Once, page 5, as contrivance and ascertaining by observation how high the sun is in the sky, and again, page 59, in the measurement of a danger angle. These two uses of the sextant are not inconsistent, for it is really intended for the measurement of any angle, page 8, formed at the observer's eye by two lines drawn to distant objects. In the case of the danger angle, these two distant objects are landmarks ashore. In the case of the sun, they are the horizon line where the sea and sky seem to meet, and the sun itself. This height of the sun, or of any star, in the sky is called its altitude. And so the altitude is always an angle to be measured in degrees and minutes. The point directly overhead is the zenith. The angle between lines drawn to the horizon and zenith is 90 degrees, or right angle. An altitude of 40 degrees, for instance, simply means that the distance from the horizon to the sun is 40 over 90 of the total distance of the horizon to the zenith. Now, I want you to go back to the slide after the book cover, Navigation by Harold Jacoby, where it shows the two zeniths. The co-altitude.
The one on a curved horizon.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, now these are 90s, but they have a curved horizon because they have to lie about what they're doing. But you can see right there, it says 90, and it's got an arrow saying 90 at the bottom right-hand corner of that blue zenith line of the star. The observer has a red zenith line. Okay? These cannot be diverging zeniths. It cannot work, or else you wouldn't have that 90. So it's an admission here that if you have an angle, all right, of 60 degrees, 60 minus 90 is 40. 40 times 60 nautical miles, 1,800 miles. So I'm sorry, I got that wrong here. Let me see. I got a little thing that popped up. 90 degrees, complement of the angle, 90 minus 60 is 30. And then 30 times 6 is 1,800 nautical miles distance. Now, Anthony, if he was able to hang a plumb line, he wouldn't need to use the horizon. He could just use his zenith, the red line that's coming straight down, and he would have the co-altitude right away. He would know he's 1,800 miles. No need for a horizon when you got a plumb bob, because you already got your zenith, and it's already assuming a horizontal, because it's got to be a right angle. But when you don't have a plumb bob on the boat, then you got to use the horizon, and the same answer is equivalent for both. They both work. They both give the same answer, okay, because it's a right angle. You can't have a right angle on the curved baseline. So this is what kills that whole globe claim that sextants can work on a baseline that's curving. The next slide shows for kids how you can draw it out. It's a paper plate. Shows the zenith of the observer where the sailboat mast is. Okay, it shows a star. And of course, you can draw a line there to mirror the previous picture, and that'd be the zenith of the star. But if you were just able to use your own plumb bob, then that yellow portion would be your co-altitude, and you wouldn't need the horizon. But because you're at sea, you have to use the horizon, which is the red part, and your angle to it, to the star from the horizon. Then you subtract from 90 to get your co-altitude. So it's a two-step method, okay? The next slide. The next slide shows exactly what's happening. And these are all from their books, and this is how it's explained. Alt has, method of celestial navigation. So you got the zenith of the observer, you got the zenith of the star, two straight lines. And this one doesn't have a curved baseline. And this is how it works, because they're not lying here. And that zenith distance between the observer's zenith and the sun is the co-altitude, and that could be achieved with a plumb bob or a bubble sextant. But if you have to use the horizon, You have to do the elevation angle first, then subtract that from 90 to achieve the same answer. Okay, the next one. Sextant is an angle measuring device. It shows here exactly the right angle, and it shows exactly where the sun would be. And you draw a straight line down from the sun to get the sun's zenith. You can do it either way, Anthony. It works the same way. Nothing changes. Okay, the last light, circle of equal altitude. So whatever angle you are, you can draw a circle on the surface of the Earth. You're somewhere on that circle until you do a second one, where the two circles cross, and you're at either one of the points where they cross. The third one would give you your fix if you had 3 stars to do. So Anthony's right. You don't need the horizon if you have a steady plumb bob or a bubble sextant. You can get the same answer. But if you're at sea and you can't do that, you have to shoot the sea horizon. And as the professional navigator told me, if it's fogged in and the horizon is closer, it doesn't matter. Just as long as you have a view of the star, shoot it and mark it, because you still have to get your eyeballs at sea surface for that horizontal with the height of eye correction.
Can you reiterate the point with regards to a very choppy big wave sea, what you do?
Yeah, in the big wave sea situation, they already know their readings won't be as precise as if it was calmer. So what they do is they wait until the boat is at the very top of a peak of a wave, and then they could see the horizon for seconds, if that, and they have to shoot it right away. And then they have to estimate the size of the wave, say it's 10 feet, then they half it as an average. And then they go by that.
Yeah. What's that 10 foot being applied to mathematically? It's being applied to the height above the deck.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're not adjust. So we adjust again in choppy water for height above the deck. What we don't do is adjust for the height of the waves in the distance at point of optical dissolution.
Can I answer that?
Yeah.
Yes. So that's obviously to Anthony's detriment, but now Anthony can have the floor. Go ahead, Anthony.
Right.
Can I add something before he goes in?
How brief is it? It's going to piss Anthony off royal. If it's on.
No, but I hope he's going to clarify all the confusions up to now. If you give me the floor for a few minutes.
And have it after Anthony.
Okay.
Go ahead, Anthony.
I want to address John and Adam. Okay. Firstly, I'll start with John. Not Adam, not Arwin, not 10th, not anybody else, just John. The horizon, by definition, I've got it on screen, Nathan, if you wouldn't mind presenting. The horizon, by definition, and this is the bit that I've done twice, and at no point did I call you dishonest, but I did correct you twice, and it doesn't seem to have gone in. You then told me that I was done when you ignored what I said. Now I want you to address what I say, John, and I want you to address it accurately with what I say, with what it says on the screen, not with something else. The line at which...
Does it say... Is the mountains part of Earth's surface?
No, it's the line between the mountains is topography, isn't it? We have a topographic. I'm going to come to the topographical horizon in a minute. When we have the horizon, it's where the sky appears to meet the ground. Or in this definition, it says that where the Earth's surface and the sky appear to meet. But it's not referring to mountains. When you point to the mountains and say, that's the horizon, that is a different kind of horizon, and it's not the horizon. That's called the topographical or the geographical horizon. And they do this because there are mountains that are present in a lot of imagery, and you can't... What is the horizon? The top of a tree? Or is it actually where the tree sits on and the tree is above the horizon? Of course, the tree is above the horizon.
Did you say actual?
The top of the tree is not the horizon. The horizon is where the sky appears to meet the ground. When we had the Skunk Bay footage, Adam was wandering about aimlessly with where the horizon is. And I take issue with that.
Hold up. Is the horizon where the Earth's surface meets the Earth's surface?
Well, Adam was down here somewhere asking, was the horizon down here? And we all know that Adam knows that the horizon's not down here somewhere. We know that there is a line here. There is a line here that appears to be where the ground and the sky appear to meet.
Yes.
You guys say, well, there's mountains in the background. That's not the horizon. That's the topographical horizon, and it is separately distinct from the horizon. The horizon is where the sky appears to meet the ground.
Or sea.
Now, let's look at the definition for the word horizontal. Horizontal is parallel to the plane of the horizon. But look at this bit here, the secondary bit. at right angles to vertical.
Was you pointing at a plane? Was you pointing at a plane when your mouse was going? Was that a straight line you were pointing at?
I'm getting to it. Because horizontal is 90 degrees to vertical, Bev would say perpendicular. When we look to a horizon, if the horizon itself is moving in the imagery, which over this time lapse it clearly is, then you haven't got an accurate position in which you can focus you can set your horizontal to. Because at any one point throughout that day, you can have it lower or higher in the imagery. And you can say, well, I'm pointing at the horizon, and that's fine if that's what you accept is the accepted position for horizontal.
Sorry, I'm
but
sorry to
by
interrupt.
definition, the horizontal...
I just need some clarity about what you're pointing at with your mouse. Can you go back to your image and just point at any point along the horizon and just leave your mouse there?
It's this wavy line here that's subject to real-world refraction, not 7/6R.
Hold on.
Actual real-world refraction.
Can't see your mouse. Just
This
keep
line.
it still. The toppermost line.
No, not the mountains. It's the hard surface line between the surface of the ground, or water in this case, and the sky. Not the mountains, the water line. You can see it.
It's not waterline. It's another row of hills in front of the mountains that are in the background, behind the peninsula that sticks out of Skunk Bay.
Is it where the sky appears to meet the ground, Adam? Yes or no?
No, there is no point in this image. And this is why I was waving my mouse around, because genuinely I was lost as to what you thought was a horizon in there. I could not use anything in that picture to define a level. And that's whether that line moves, or even if it stayed fixed and never even moved, I can do nothing with that topographical horizon, as you call it, to ascertain a level, because it is not a horizon that I can use to define level. It's just an obstruction in my field of view.
Okay. If you say that you can't work out where the horizon is, I accept that. I don't agree with you, but I accept that Adam can't work out where the horizon is. Everybody else can, in my submission. Everybody knows where the horizon is.
So, okay, let me clarify the position. There is no horizon that I can use in there. I can make a statement that the hills in the background form a blockage, a topographical horizon, but that is of no value in any way, shape, or form ever for celestial navigation.
Back to my ravine example. Back to my ravine example.
I'm not making that claim, Adam. That's a straw man argument, and I've addressed it directly with a rebuttal that says that the horizon is not.
That's a topographical horizon.
No, the mountains in the background, Adam, are not the horizon. They're the topographical horizon, which is not the horizon by definition.
Where's your horizon then?
I've just told you. It's where the sky appears to meet the sea.
That's a hill.
Okay, so Adam can't work out where the horizon is. Right, let's move back to John.
It's a hill. Don't say Adam can't work it out. I've just told you what it is. And you've just denied the fact that it's a hill and reapplied it as the horizon.
Okay, so again, my position is simple. Adam can't work out where the horizon is. You say it's a
horizon. Adam's not saying he can't work out horizon. He's stating there is no horizon there. There is no point in this image. Go back to your definition.
Hold on.
Go back to your definition and read it. And there is no point where the land appears to meet the sky. There's no point where there's an apparent position of the meeting that isn't real or actual. What there is an actual position of obstruction, whether you pick the peninsula, the first row of hills in the background, or the mountains, which are sticking out in little bits above the hills. All of those are physical obstructions where the sky does, where the land does obstruct the sky. None of them can be defined as a point where the land appears to meet the sky as a consequence of optical dissolution.
I accept that you're unable to ascertain where the horizon is. I don't agree that anybody else would agree with you that you can't work out what the horizon is. But if that's your position, Adam, you're happy to stay there. I'm happy for you to stay there. You can't work out where the horizon is.
I'm not happy to stay with the way you summarize it. No, I'm happy to say that
that's what you're doing.
There is no horizon in the picture by definition of horizon.
Okay, according to you. But
according to the definition of horizon. Who's everybody else? Who's this everybody else? There's only you taking this position.
Eyes in the head.
Anyone with eyes in the head. You're not really supporting your argument, right?
Can I get it?
Well,
Can I get in here?
He's pointing
Just
at a point
second.
on a
Not to
picture and
no,
declaring
no,
that's
come on.
the
You heard me.
horizon.
Just,
Hold
you
on.
heard me
Everyone
just
stop.
jump in here.
Everyone else stop. Right. We're going to get... everyone stop. We're going to get Jorge, then Robot Ox, then Eli. So everyone on the G+ panel, you're just going to have to hold your tongues for a minute. Go ahead, Jorge.
Thanks, Nathan. I think we've been talking about the subject and we're not realizing what we're talking about. When we use the horizon for whatever celestial navigation or whatever, we're using the surface level. That's pretty much what we are using, and elevations from it. With that said, if you cannot visualize the horizon, the surface level, that is, you can use an artificial horizon. I already pointed out before, it's never too much to point it out. You can have a bowl with water or a bucket with water and use that surface as a horizontal plane for you to do your elevation angles, regardless of how the weather is outside. So that's another one. And finally, just to point out, because all of this started with the curvature of the Earth, just to point out, like John says, the curvature of the Earth, it's below the surface level, so who cares?
Yeah, very good point. Robot Ox, go ahead. Is it Roto? Roto.
Yeah. First of all, Nathan, I want to say thanks for having me on, man. Last time I came in here, I just started unloading some boxes at the door like I was FedEx, so I apologize about that. But on this thing with water, so everything that we do here is oriented to something. So what is known first before topography, navigation, building, anything? What's known is the fundamentals. Water is the orienter. In other words, it's what is horizontal. It's what we base horizontal off of, water. So, in other words, like, it's always horizontal. See, a cup, if I had a bathtub of resting water, it will be horizontal. If I dropped a plumb bob, it will be perpendicular to that bathtub of water. If I took 1,000 cups of water from that tub and held them up at different elevations, they will all be parallel horizontally to each other. No matter what the elevation, no matter what the spread distance, they will all be parallel horizontally. Same with if you dropped a plum on each of those 1,000 cups at whatever distance, whatever elevation, every plumb will be parallel vertically. But what's known is that water is flat. We make these tools to represent that. Spirit level is nothing more than a cup of water, showing horizontal.
Okay.
We're on sea. It doesn't matter.
You're summarizing these axioms, which is fantastic. But we actually have a housekeeping question around these axioms, which you're correct to assert, which is to say that is there any evidence that level, what you're describing, is not horizontal?
Well, this goes back into the new definition of level, which I disagree with, which is equidistant from the center of the Earth, because you actually work.
No, that's the challenge. That's been taken out of the housekeeping question. I'm glad you brought this up. We may get into this a little bit more, and I know we will, because it's a housekeeping question. So for now, unless there's something else, Roto, I'm going to move on to Eli, if that's okay. Unless there's something else.
Good.
Eli, go ahead. Thank you, Roto, and thank you, Jorge.
Yeah, it's super amazing that level has to come up. It's just one of the things they've used to try to hijack the conversation. But trying to get clarity for the sake of coming to some conclusion for Adam and Sleeping Warrior. Hello, guys. I think this will be good because Adam, I think, is correctly stated what is considered a horizon and what is not considered a horizon. And I think when we talk about the horizon, I think Adam and Sleeping Warrior are talking about the same horizon, but Adam is pointing out what is not a horizon. I think it's just fair to say, fair point. And I'll read why from Horizon at National Geographic. So at the top, it says the horizon is the line that separates the earth from the sky. Okay, so what does that mean? Because it sounds like in the video or the whatever you're looking at, there's some mountains or there's some stuff, right? So it's like, does that count? What
I can answer
are we
that.
actually talking about? What is the contention? So the horizon is the line that separates the earth from the sky. Some of the best places to see the unobstructed horizon are beaches where the ocean meets the sky in an uninterrupted line. The horizon is the line that separates the earth from the sky. There are two main types of horizons: earth-sky horizons and celestial horizons. Both earth-sky and celestial horizons have different subtypes of horizons. The local horizon is going to get pretty convoluted because some of these, the way these things
No,
are
just carry on.
defined are
Just
like,
carry on. Don't worry about
but
how convoluted
yeah.
it is. Just carry on.
Yeah, the local horizon, geographic horizon, and sea level horizon are all Earth sky horizons. The astronomical horizon and true horizon are celestial horizons. Earth sky horizons, the local horizon, also called the geometrical horizon, is the visible boundary between the earth and sky. The local horizon may include trees, buildings, and mountains. The geographic horizon is the apparent boundary between the earth and sky. Mountains, trees, and other elevated features are not considered part of the geographic horizon. So
all of those horizons are the
Yeah,
same.
the horizon is surface level.
Hold on. Just to summarize, because QE's done this many times in the past. Thank you very much, by the way, Eli. They're all the same. You listen to that description carefully enough, they are all the same thing with the exception of the local horizon, which, if, by caveat, it's made up by topographical features, it then gets qualified in summary at the beginning as being something else as well, which was to say that it does not include features or obstructions. Now, this is Adam's point. He's saying, no, we're in a valley. And John's point, he's saying, if we're in a valley, you're going to have things that are in the valley that obscure your view of the celestial horizon, let's just call it. But summarized by Adam as the point of dissolution. Now, if that's unobstructed by a mountain, a tree, a fence, it doesn't matter at what distance, foreground, midground, distance, it doesn't matter. If it's obscuring what could only be described as the point of dissolution, by Adam's description, it is not a horizon. Now, although you've got a slightly lengthier description of lots of horizons that are all basically the same thing, followed by a clear description that anything obstructing that natural point in the distance that we know is a horizon, or the optical dissolution point as described by Adam, isn't a horizon. So, ergo, at this point, Sleeping Warrior is wrong. That's not a horizon in that image, Anthony.
We need to tie it back to the meaning of the word. We need to tie it back to the meaning of the word horizontal. We need to all horizontals are parallel. Bev does get this right. All horizontals are parallel.
So you're self-defeating. Stop. In your picture of Skunk Bay, it's not a straight line. It's obviously topography, isn't it?
Yeah.
It isn't straight.
Well, there's
nothing's going to be.
and
Anthony, you've just defeated your own argument in respect to nothing could ever be described as that with the line drawn in Skunk Bay, because it isn't a straight line, is it?
If you're on about the fluctuations between the line, no, it's not straight. If you're on about the mountains in the background, that's not the horizon.
Okay, good. Okay, because this now raises a different question, which I went through before you got here, I believe. Which is to say, actually, I might do it with the image. Please, can you do me a favour, Anthony? Can you go and get the image of the Isle of Man? Have you got that to hand?
No.
Okay, we'll do it with this. It's fine. Right. Can you see where the point of potential optical dissolution is with the, in this instance, is the land and sea. There is a straight line in this image. This is the same line I waved my mouse over and went to Rumpus. What's this? This line between the land and sea that is appearing to be described by Adam as an optical point of dissolution. In other words, we can no longer resolve the difference between the sea level and any point above our height in the photographer's perspective that is above that position, obscuring it in the distance. Therefore, the line along the top you clarified, thank you very much, as being the horizon, this line that isn't going to be parallel with anything, it's not a straight line, yeah, isn't the horizon. Therefore, the technically isn't a horizon in this image. But what did we fight about at the Isle of Man? Because by comparison, the line I'm drawing my line on is the top of the mountains in the Isle of Man. That isn't what we argued about, though. We argued about this line, didn't we, Anthony?
Yeah, but let me bring it back, because this is the bit where there's a contention with John. There is a horizon in the image. Now, by definition, the horizon is the apparent position where the sky appears to meet the ground. Not the mountains, but the ground. And we have a line. It is a bit wavy because that's real world refraction, but that line is the horizon. However, we need to also consider the second part of the definition for what is the horizon or the look, horizontal, right? This is where when 10th says, well, you can't really get a plumb bob vertical on a boat because the boat's rolling round. The same applies to horizontal as well, because it's not easy to get a horizontal when the boat's rolling around in the ocean, in the waves, right? So the criticism for why it can't be vertical is the same for why it shouldn't be horizontal either. However, the point is this: all the parallels, all the horizontal lines are all parallel to the plane of the horizon. However, if you're looking at the horizon, because weather affects how far you see, if you're not looking to the absolute perfect conditions to get to the point of convergence, that is the point where the horizon rises to eye level, as it were, you're not able to get a true horizontal because you're only basing it as far as what you can see. On some days,
No. He's agreeing with you at this point, 10th. He's saying, like,
no. He said something.
You couldn't acquire
something about horizontal.
He's saying in this image you couldn't acquire a horizontal from it because you haven't got a horizon to do it
I'm not talking about this image. I'm talking about what he said about you can't acquire a horizontal at sea.
Well, yeah, but let me finish, and then you can address. Let me finish. The problem is, if you're going to aim your mirror at the horizon, I was trying to get to this before everyone jumped on me, right? You're going to aim it to what you believe is the horizontal because you're applying the definition, right? And that's fine. But if it's not 90 degrees from vertical, it isn't horizontal, regardless of whether it might be the horizon or not. Now, the horizon does vary. I can't always see the Isle of Man. Sometimes I can see it, sometimes I can't. Why? Because I can't see far enough on the day. On the days where I can't see it, my horizon is significantly lower in angle. If you're going to aim your mirror to the horizon the way you see it that day, and you're not seeing that far, it's lower than what it should be. Therefore, it isn't horizontal.
Incorrect.
Yeah.
Incorrect, Anthony.
Baseless assertion. He hasn't done any measurements. He's just claiming this.
Yeah,
just baseless
let me just
assertion.
explain. Anthony.
Just get 10 to
Anthony,
repeat what to do on a foggy day.
Okay, we'll get an order because we've also got, I think Eli wants to get something in and Jorge again. So me, then Adam, then Jorge, then Eli, or Eli, then Jorge, whichever. Right, Anthony. But for the fact that the Isle of Man is obscuring what could be defined as a horizon, the point where the sky met the sea, right, on a clear day, that point is obscured by the Isle of Man. That is not to say that on a foggy day, if you pointed your sextant at that horizon where you cannot see the Isle of Man, you could still apply dip correction and acquire your measurements for doing celestial navigation, aka an elevation angle to whatever it was you were pointing at that presumably wasn't blocked by fog.
Yeah, but the argument is, not only is there a horizon in the image, which there clearly is, but if you take the view that there's not, then how do you get your horizontal, right? And if you're going to point it at the horizon, regardless of visibility on the day, if it's not 90 degrees from vertical, then it isn't horizontal. But you need the horizontal baseline for you to get an accurate measurement to your angle. So even if you
dip correction.
So can 10th now take my time and just reiterate the point of what to do, what the expert says to do on a foggy day, what to worry about, what not to worry about, and where your horizon will render for your level.
The expert I talked to said when I asked him, what if it's a foggy day and you can't see clearly for miles and miles? He says, well, you just aim where the fog is meeting the sea surface and treat it the same.
Okay.
And I said,
So
okay. Hang on. You're missing the major point. And you're just brushing by it.
I'm not.
The horizontal. The only thing steady at sea is the horizon.
It isn't steady though, is it?
Anthony,
It isn't
please,
steady.
can you
Let
go on
me
mute?
finish.
He's got about
Let me
5 words out.
finish.
Anthony, please, can you go on mute just while he gets his point back across to you? You've made your point. Everyone's listened.
Yeah, you can get into the minutia and tell me it's not steady. That's why the boat is rocking. Yeah, I get it. I own the boat. I know what that is. That's not the point. The point is the principle of the sextant is a right angle and a 90. And when you use the only thing steady at the time, which is the horizon, as steady as it is or as steady as it isn't, it doesn't matter. Once you know the height of eye correction that you took on shore at the port that you were docked in, from the very spot on your ship that you're doing it, you treat it as a right angle with a horizontal baseline that is straight. That's the principle of subtracting from 90. What you're talking about, I'd have to subtract from 95 or 87. That's not how it works.
Not true.
No, I'm trying to tell you that whether you, if you stand at the seashore and one guy has a bubble sextant where the eye line is fictitious, horizontal with the spirit level, and the other guy has a mariner sextant shooting at the horizon, both will get the same. Both will get the same. And one is using his zenith.
Not wrong.
One is using his.
Hold on. He keeps interrupting you by saying, no, it's wrong. No, it's a principle used in celestial navigation, Anthony. So when you say you're wrong, you're arguing with the principle of celestial navigation, not with 10th, just to make that clear. He's just explaining to you a principle of navigation. You're saying wrong.
No,
you're like a baller.
Right. First
Your
off,
argument isn't with 10th.
I'm not finished yet. So the point is that when you're using the bubble sextant or plumb bob, you're able to achieve your zenith, and you just need the co-altitude. You don't even worry about elevation angle at this point. But when you can't do that, it's a two-step process. They both have to be subtracted from 90. So it's a right angle in both cases. So the two-step process says, okay, I can't keep this plumb bob from swinging, so I need to use the horizon, the only thing steady right now at sea. I'll use that. I'll get the elevation angle. I'll say it's 50 degrees for my example. I'll subtract that, which you don't have to do the other one. There's no subtraction from the other one because you get the answer 40 immediately because you're using your plumb bob, the co-altitude. So I take my sextant altitude of the sun over the horizon, and it's 50 degrees. I subtract from 90, leaves me my 40. It automatically gives me my zenith. It gives me my 90. That's how I get my vertical at sea. I have to use the horizon and subtract to get my vertical because I can't get my vertical at sea. I could do it if I'm on land with a plumb bob, though. Then I don't have to do the elevation angle or dip correction. It's that simple.
Do you agree, yes or no, 10th, that the horizon wanders, even though you can point at it? Right. So if it's wandering, every time it wanders up or down relative to how far you can see at the time, that angle is increasing and reducing from 90.
Objection.
Do you agree?
No, because you treat it as a flat surface when you do height of eye. You're at sea level as if your eyeballs were on the water, and that's treated as 0 or 180.
Right. But that didn't answer the question I asked. That didn't answer the question.
It doesn't matter if it's wavy.
Anthony claimed that the horizon rises up and down, and then he points to a picture and arbitrarily assigns the horizon to a point that's rising up and down. I want to see the horizon that we use to navigate with on the sea rising up and down.
No, it's the waves that you're on that will go up and down.
Skunk Bay shows it.
Skunk Bay is a time lapse. You don't do time lapse sextants.
No,
it doesn't. No. Stop. We've gone round in a full circle. Please stop. We've gone round in a full circle. Right. When Eli defined what the horizon was, right, it was explicitly defining it, excluding the tree line, excluding the mountain, the stuff that's higher or lower than the sea level, basically, that could obscure your optical dissolution point as described by Adam. Now, if you're now going to say, well, no, because the line that you can see in the mountains or whatever they are in the line you drew along, I don't care what it is, if that's moving up and down, that isn't the horizon. That's the topology of the ground and the conditions moving that, not the horizon.
I do also, this is why I wanted to ask if I can make a very, 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 very pedantic point.
Feel free.
Because it might be important, it might not. Anthony said in his initial response back that it's a little wavy, but right? Now, I didn't read after where I stopped, after it explained unobstructed horizon. It says the sea level horizon is geographic horizon at sea level. One of the best places to see the sea level horizon is at the beach. The ocean and the sky provide a clean, flat line where the earth seems to meet the sky.
Yeah. But we seem to be missing the point, though. The argument is not about whether or not we can see or detect or measure from the horizon. The issue is it horizontal or not?
Yes, it is. That's that is exactly the discussion, because that's what you're establishing. You're establishing a horizontal baseline.
Right. But if it's not 90 degrees from vertical, it's not horizontal.
Okay.
So
yes, that's correct. And then this principle would not work.
Right.
Right, but it does.
When I point out...
But it does.
So when
Anthony, but it does. And they do use the horizon. That's a fact.
Right. But if the horizon is wandering, which it is, then you haven't got...
you haven't shown that. No, you've shown that in Skunk Bay with the obstruction, not a clean horizon moving. Can you show that? A clean horizon moving.
Yeah, because you can't always see indefinitely. There are days when it's murky, not necessarily foggy, but days where you just can't see as far. And
we covered that as well. We're going round in circles.
No, can I just address this?
You're ignoring the point, though.
Let's not do this. You and I are going to stop, Anthony, and Adam is going to get the mic. You and I are going to both go on mute.
And me.
Okay. So I think what the issue here is what do we think's happening if we've got a moving clean horizon? Why can we go out on a boat on a foggy day and still attain a level? When we're looking out at the horizon, we're not looking at a point to line up to that's going to create the angle. The way in which the horizon renders is within the eye. Okay, so irrespective, as long as we're stood up straight and looking out, okay, irrespective of what we're looking at, as long as there's nothing obstructing it, then even the limitations of the distance that we're able to see into does not affect how within the optics of the eye the horizon is going to render. All that's required is an uninterrupted view of land and sea to allow perspective to play out, to draw that straight line. So fundamentally, the place where the horizon occurs is in the eye. If it's able to look out uninterrupted over a flat plane. And that last point is crucial because it does not render the same, if you've got a curve, because we're not dealing with topography. We're dealing with optical dissolution is what forms a horizon. Done.
Right, and because there's 2 points, right? Number one, that is their defendable claim when it comes to a non-horizon that is the point of optical dissolution due to angular limitations at the height the world presents itself with things like the Isle of Man. Therefore, the line that they draw out and claim is a hill getting in the way is actually the optical dissolution point because of a limited angle between the ground, in this case the Isle of Man, and the sea below it. So you can prove demonstrably that there's a limitation of angle that causes the optical dissolution point, not the horizon, Because that isn't the horizon, is it? There's no beach there. There's no point that you can't see beyond. It's not clean. There's stuff above it, land above it. So what is that line? Well, how else can you describe it? Well, they've only got one thing in their list for the globe believers. It's caused by the Earth curve obstruction hill getting in the way. Well, we've debunked that. So do we need to, number one, this is my next point, qualify what it actually is in that regard to the Isle of Man? No, because we didn't make any claims about it being a hill getting in the way. So once we've debunked it, that's behind us. Now, do we have to make any claims in regards to this? Yeah, we damn well do. We better start qualifying what the horizon is and arguing about it, because we've got a positive assertion about it now, haven't we? This proves Earth's flat. Yeah, that comes with a certain amount of responsibility. And this is where Anthony comes in to poke the bear. Because we're the ones with a positive claim now. We've got to defend it. And we've got to be damn clear about what we're claiming. Now, if we're talking about the horizon and how it's utilised, right, we can look to the celestial navigation method. Because ipso facto, this part of the horizon and how it's used to establish the horizontal baseline that's going to be navigated, it's surplus to our flat earth proof. Yeah, because why? Because you can use spirit level. But what are you going to be doing with it? Well, drawing a straight, flat baseline between you and the GP of the star, making the entirety of the world flat. So in other words, it doesn't matter whether or not we use the horizon for this argument, because the principle involved with celestial navigation has that flat baseline between you and the GP. Makes no difference if you use the horizon or not. However, it's part of our claim and absolutely warrants us debating and discussing the whys and wherefores of what the horizon now is, how it's defined, and what we are going to be using it for in our flat earth proof and positive claim. Therefore, we have got a responsibility here to do this. You know, it is on us to do
but
this.
We're going in circles.
I know we are.
In circles because
I know we are.
Okay, but there's something that's being missed here that's so apparent. It's so, I'm not going to say apparent. That's right in front of Anthony's eyes. Look, Anthony, if you're on an airplane with a bubble sextant, you have to keep that spirit level steady. And it takes 60, in 2 minutes process, it takes 60 different sightings. And then they average out the 60 to get as close as possible, because the airplane's still moving in the longitudinal plane. So it could be going up and down. So there could be some error there. If you're on land and you're using a bubble sextant, you're not moving. So it'd be more precise because you've got a steady horizontal with the spirit level. Okay. If you're at sea, you don't have the luxury. The only thing steady you got is the horizon, no matter how you want to define steady. Then what you do is apply the principle of celestial navigation and say, okay, I'm 10 feet above the surface of the water. I got to minus that. So as if my eyeballs were on the water surface. Now I've got to assume my 90. They assume it. They already know it has to be 0 from GP to GP. Observer's GP, zenith of the observer, and the zenith of the star. That has to be 0. So that's how they establish their vertical, by that adjacent.
Stop.
Okay?
Stop. That's how we prove the Earth is flat. That principle. Doesn't matter if you're using a horizon. It doesn't matter if you're dropping a plumb line. Why are you doing it? To establish that line between you and the GP of the star to your left, be it 100 miles away, the star to your right, be it 200 miles away, and the star behind you, be it 80 miles away. And every square inch of that surface, when drawn on the map and navigated and calculated, is ipso facto flat to do any of this. So it doesn't matter what you establish your horizontal with.
Correct. Now, what happens once you establish your horizontal is you get your 90. So because on the boat you can't hang a plumb bob to get your 90, there's another way of getting it. Establish your horizontal. And that's where it comes from. And so when you're told in celestial navigation to make the height of eye correction so that your eyeballs are on sea surface, that's a tell that from where you are to the star's position is 100% 0 degrees flat straight. And that's how you get your zenith. Because you can't get your zenith at sea because it's moving.
You can't get your horizontal at sea either because you haven't got.
Oh my gosh, I'm done with this guy.
You haven't got a fixed, reliable point that you can point to and say.
That's why they're half a mile. That's why they're half a mile to 5 miles off.
Hold on a
Yes,
sec.
it's not as precise.
Hold on a second. He's making the claim that the horizon is changing angles. And he cites that the distance that you can see is changing. Is that proof that the angle has changed?
Is it rhetorical or is it aimed somewhere? Are you aiming that at me?
Yeah.
To you, yes. You think that's proof that the angle to the horizon has changed. Now go and demonstrate it with the actual horizon.
The angle could never
Listen.
change because it's 90 degrees you subtract it from. It's already, you're in the right angle world there. You got to do it. It gives you your zenith, Anthony. I mean, do you realize that celestial navigation is not precise in the sense of factors that you're talking about? You're going to be sometimes 5 miles off or 10 miles off or half a mile off if everything works out right. That's how precise it can be. You're somewhere in that world.
But he's talking about a change of, 1 degree over 5,000 miles will be massive. Hell, 1
Correct.
degree over 100 miles will be massive, be more than miles.
Yeah.
So,
We seem to be
but we
missing.
navigate using the horizon. Anthony,
The sea
you
is
do not see
treated,
the problem.
the sea is
Guys.
treated as the adjacent of a right angle because of the horizon.
Right.
Guys, check this out.
We're missing
The thing,
the application.
the
of the
one,
second-
Hold on.
the
Hold on.
one,
Okay, so
Hold
you're
on,
telling
guys
me
in G+,
celestial navigation
guys in
doesn't
G+,
work because you
guys
don't
in G+,
understand it.
guys in G+. Go ahead, Roto. Yeah, GT Pennyworth. Feel free.
thank you. Okay. There's one factor, whether you're on land or sea. It's about the water. It's about what's known from water. Water is what we establish horizontal with. Flat water, because we know it lies flat.
Okay, but we're not in this instance. I've got to stop you, Roto. I'm really sorry. That's not what we're doing. Number one, the argument is about rough seas. Number two, if you were on flat sea, you wouldn't be getting, you wouldn't be dipping your water in and getting a cup because you've got to reference it to something. And then in this instance, it's the horizon, not the level of the water, which is often not completely level or at rest. So no, in this instance, no. Sorry.
However, what is known is when it's at rest, it's what we orient horizontal with. The only way we get horizontal is liquid. It tells us the way the plane lies. We're flat. Water lies flat. It always will. When we're on sea, we know if that sea were still, it would be flat.
Hey,
when we look
that was Tim's
I'll
point
just try and
earlier
repeat that
when
to
he
him.
brought up.
It just doesn't take
But
what I'm
hold
saying.
on.
Okay, Roto. I got you. First time and second time. Yeah, but you just ignored my response the first time. Water at rest. We're not dealing with water at rest, though, are we?
Correct. No, but we do know
No, we're not.
it is at rest.
We're not. We're not dealing with that at this point. So your point's valid. Thank you. But twice, we're not dealing with water at rest.
I know, but
right.
we know
if
when
we
it
had
is.
water at rest, they just use a bubble sextant on the boat.
Right.
Right, but
so
they don't.
I'm saying,
Or a bucket with water.
Right, but they
what
don't.
we're talking about.
But they don't.
No.
I know, but what we're trying to establish, or what the runaround here is, sky meeting the ground and what it means, the horizon. Well, it doesn't matter where the sky meets the ground. What matters is that water is known to lie flat.
Right,
So
your
we're
third attempt to make this the point. It does matter, because that is precisely what we're doing when we point a bloody sextant at it. The horizon, that is. We don't lay it on the water that isn't at rest and establish our horizontal with that. So third attempt to make this the point. What we are talking about, most specifically and assuredly, is the horizon. So when you say what we are talking about doesn't matter when we come to the... Yeah, it does. That's what we are talking about. It just isn't about water at rest being flat at the moment. Okay?
Well, I understand, and I totally agree. But what I'm trying to point further to is that the horizon line on sea is known to be horizontal. If it were at rest, it would behave, water will behave as it does 100% of the time. So the reason that we're looking at the horizon we're not trying to optically understand something. We're trying to get a measurement, a horizontal. And we do this with the water because we know it lies flat and when it's at rest. The measurement is to establish a horizontal. So it doesn't matter about the topography. Water, because we can have a horizon on land, okay, with topography and all. But on sea, it's about the water. And when we look at that horizon line, what we know is that water at any point 360 is going to be level with the water under our feet. If the water were lying flat, it doesn't on sea. So we're trying to establish a horizontal measurement because we're trying to get vertical, horizontal, and angles within that. So we know that the water will, so the only reason the horizon matters, and then we're trying to calculate a measurement. So it's not about an optical anything, you know, or the definition of what a horizon line is, you know. We know water is the orienter of all horizontals. All. Whether you're on land, you don't have to look at the horizon if you're on land and building. You mimic the behavior of water with the bubble set, with the spirit level. They just mimic.
Okay, thank you.
You know.
So thank you for your 5 attempts to make this into an argument about the spirit level or water level, which it's not. That was 5 attempts.
Horizontal.
5 attempts.
Horizontal. That's what I'm going for.
Yeah, we got
What
that.
is
We got that.
Okay.
But it is devoid of the discussion we're currently having. Literally on screen now, I've got a picture of an elevation angle measurement to the sun and the flat baseline that must be required to have the sun at 90 degrees with its GP position on this diagram. Right? All of that involves you at this position establishing this flat aspect, this plane that you can be measuring with a flat baseline between you and the star. Well, if you haven't got flat water to use, what are you going to do? Well, that's what we're arguing about currently. Okay?
Well, I'm saying the same thing.
Please don't make it a 6th attempt, because you're not saying the same thing. Please. 6 attempts, please. You point. Okay, water's flat at rest. Okay, thank you.
You looking at the horizon line?
That's our conversation. Yes. Yes. Which you're simultaneously
that's
telling
what
us
I'm
isn't what it's about.
I'm sorry, I didn't really get the point. Maybe you could repeat it one more time.
Arwin, don't piss me off. Thank you, though, Roto. We get it. Thank you. Your point's valid. I'm not demeaning it in any way. Anthony, do you appreciate that the principle being employed, regardless of the accuracy that you might fail to attain on a rough sea, is that the baseline's flat between you and the GP of the thing you're measuring?
Yeah, we're using Euclidean geometry to establish measured angles.
Oh, thank God. Yes, correct. So, in spite of the accuracy that you say we may fail to obtain using the horizon, well, debatably true. Who cares? You're only doing it to establish horizontal, and you'd ideally have completely rough, calm seas to do it in. That would be the ideal. Now, if you're saying, well, I'm going to do it in the middle of a bloody hurricane at the top of a 30-foot wave, well, it's not very accurate. Okay, yeah, that's true.
Let's not forget what their position is, though. Their position is the line of sight to the target, be it star, sun, planet, moon. The line of sight on their model is a curved line, subject to 7/6R. Their baseline is also a great circle root curved line. And I don't think they've got any. What else is the other one that they will use?
Their position goes directly against celestial navigation and how it's done. Why are you paying attention to their position when it goes against the fundamental of celestial navigation? Why are you even listening to these wolves?
To negate their argument?
No.
They're negating
both of you stop.
themselves
Both of you
by
stop.
going
No.
against the
Stop.
method.
There's a misunderstanding. No. Anthony, this isn't their argument. This is our argument. We are making the positive claim here. Take ownership if this is your argument, because it's ours. Right? They don't have a positive claim to make in this regard. When they make one, they make it with a flat earth, mate. Just go ask Toon. MC Toon, you listening, mate? When you made your challenge, you required these flat Earth principles of the GP being at 90 degrees to your position you measure it from with an angle. That is a principle that must stand for an elevation angle measurement to be made. And he employed it with his challenge. Ergo, he utilized the flat plane because that's the principle that must be used. That's how it's done. So it's our claim. They haven't got a pot to piss in when it comes to celestial navigation, Anthony. They don't have any claims. I assure you.
Yeah, that mark and refraction, it ruined it any chance. Because, see, celestial navigation is done from the Earth. They were claiming an angle to a geometric position to get an angle from that surface. But they killed that when they said that the line to the horizon is bent, or you don't have an extrinsically straight line to know the shape of the Earth is spherical.
Plus, as well, guys, there's not one instance or point where the marine sextant accounts for any Earth curvature, nor there is the formula.
Yeah, but we're talking about elevation angles, isn't it?
Yes.
And for you to do an elevation angle, you need to establish first a horizontal plane.
Correct.
How you're going to do it, it doesn't matter. You can use a bucket with water, you can use a horizontal plane, you can use many things, but the first step is to establish the horizontal plane.
Correct.
So if you can't see the horizon, you establish a horizontal plane differently. Without it, you're not going to have the elevation angle.
Exactly.
If you think about it, like all of this rhetoric and all of this conversation is clouding the fact that you're using a tool that has to be angled perfectly so that it is parallel with the horizontal orientation of the Earth. That's the point. Like you have your little man on the huge Earth, and it's oriented in a way, and your little device has to be perfectly parallel from that or to that, so that you can then get an angle off that. That's all we're doing.
Parallel to the plane of the horizon. Is that right?
I mean,
well, you know, in all fairness,
what was that? I didn't catch that. One more time.
I said parallel to the plane of the horizon. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
In all fairness to Anthony, though, 10th went over this stuff for like almost 2 years in the pre-shows and stuff like that. So he might, you know, like we had these arguments when 10th was going through these, and we were all playing devil's advocate. So I understand where Anthony's coming from, but
after Adam's done, I'd like to have you go to Master D for 10 last slides for me for today.
All right. Okay. Adam, can you keep this up on screen for the now?
Yeah. Yeah.
And let's just transition to. Do you want me to start with the triangle on a ball?
Yep.
Okay.
So what we got here is a screenshot from a navigation channel, very thorough navigation channel, by the way. This is what has to happen. And you can see how someone could look at this and say, did you guys do that as a meme against them? No, this is them showing a right angle. And it just tells the whole story right here. Now, the second slide is going to show from a Navy site how the angles are done from the sea surface. As you can see, 2 stars are being used here. And the sea surface is treated as horizontal, 0 baseline. And it shows the sextant, which is an angle measuring device. That's all it does. It measures angle between 2 straight lines. But once you get that angle, you have to subtract from 90. So the right angle comes into play. The next slide is from Periscope Films, a screenshot of showing how on land they're describing what those 2 previous pictures were trying to tell you. That pole is, say, the sun, and it's zenith over the Earth somewhere, and you are somewhere on this circle of equal altitude taking the angle. Does that look like a 90 over there? Yeah. But if you take a straight line from where the Navy sailor is straight up, that would be his 90. And that would be done with a plumb bob. And you would just need the co-altitude. You wouldn't need the elevation angle as previously discussed. The next slide is some screen images showing how at sea the Navy does it. So here it is. There's the boat to the right, and there's the sun or stars GP, in this case the stars GP because it's nighttime. And then you've got your right angle triangle. Now, because it's at sea, he's not using a plumb bob to get his vertical whatsoever. Next slide. So he's somewhere on this circle of equal altitude. He could be on that side or this side of the GP of that star. He just doesn't know where he is on the circle of equal altitude yet because he's only done one siding. Remember, it's a 90. It has to be flat. The next slide shows a top view down, as if you're the star looking down at your own GP. And you could see how they've got that one circle equal altitude, and all the boats have the same angle to it because they're all on the same circle. All of them have a right angle triangle, a 90. The next slide shows 3 stars and how they would all cross over each other with 3 circle of equal altitudes. And notice the box on the 2 that you can see representing a 90. I hope this is sinking in, that we are showing you how celestial navigation works on this Earth. It requires a flat baseline, not the first picture where you use a right angle triangle and have it as a teeter-totter. It negates it. The next slide shows 1 circle of equal altitude in an illustration, much like the Navy and the screenshots prior. The next slide is a close-up of an image. In fact, Nathan, go to the last slide, and then we'll come back to the blow-up version. So this image shows a flat plane with longitude lines and latitude lines and a grid sitting on top of that dingleberry surplus Earth that's a globe that's not necessary. You might as well go back to the first picture and show that boat with a right angle triangle here because it's the same thing. Now go back to the previous slide where I blew it up. You'll see there's a guy upside down looking at his own zenith. This is how it's done. They just take all the measurements that cannot work on the curved baseline and say we're getting it from the equatorial plane. Well, if you're getting it from the plane and the books have you at the center of the Earth on the disk, then you're never getting it from a surface that curves, nor can you with the sextant. A curved surface negates the use of a sextant, and yet sextants work, which means ipso facto, we live on a flat plane. I'm done.
Adam, still there?
Yes,
mate. I'm going to do this. Let's just make it a bit bigger.
Yes. Yeah. So this is mine, Thames of Mitchell's little poem we put together by hijacking a bit of Shakespeare, just through what we'd learned, really. So yeah, to dip or not to dip, that is the correction. Whether it is nobler for the sextant to suffer the limitations of artificial horizons or to take the eye against the sea of troubles and by opposing end them to define a level.
Perfect. So, with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you. Smash the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, hit the thanks button, and all that good stuff. Another massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panel. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching it on a Premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
lucky day.